Hey guys, Bay Area Aquatics here, coming at you with an update of my 90-gallon Discus tank. I haven't filmed this tank in a couple of months now just because it's been in pretty poor condition. It started off really well. I was going for a look with a lot of swords and some driftwood in the middle, some rock, stones, crypts, and a lot of broadleaf plants. But then I kind of ran into the issue. We were changing the lighting a lot. We went from LEDs to T5s, back and forth, back and forth. The LEDs turned out to not be enough and a huge waste of money. So right now I'm on using a 4-bulb T5 fixture, which is probably considered low light for this tank. And so the plants aren't doing that great. And I also had a huge issue with my CO2. I have pressurized CO2 on this tank, and I was changing the forms of reaction and how I was dissolving the CO2. And then I ran out of CO2 on a 5-pound tank, and I wasn't able to get CO2 for 4 months because the nearby gas place, the Praxair, they seemed to be out of 5-pound tanks for a good 4 months or so. I called them every week, and they always said they were out. So I finally got the CO2. I've been running T5s for a good couple months now, so everything's getting kind of steady. And I'm gonna do a quick walkthrough with you guys. So because I wasn't having great luck with the swords and other plants that I had in here, instead of just going out and buying new plants, I just let this Italian valve go kind of crazy. I haven't touched it for a couple weeks. It's growing out in the foreground, which I'm okay with. I'm probably going to move it towards the back, so it's going to be a background plant and cover up a lot of space for now until I get a new fixture. I'm planning on getting an 8-bulb T5 fixture that's used for hydroponics. They're extremely cheap compared to other fixtures because they don't have like the high quality reflectors or whatever, but I'm not really concerned about that because this is just a planted tank. It's not a reef tank or anything, and the lighting requirements aren't that high. So for now, until I get that fixture, I'm just going to let everything go as it is right now. I'm not going to buy any new plants, and I'm just going to hopefully let this Italian valve grow out so I can, there's not too many dead spots. The only plant I did buy was this Nubius in the middle. I bought that because I figured that it would do pretty well because it's a really low demanding plant, and I stuck it in there. It did get a ton of algae all over the leaves, but I just like took my finger and brushed it off and stuck it in the rocks. And if you look around the rocks and around it in the driftwood and the crypts, they're actually very clean compared to what they were a couple weeks ago. That's because I bought a bristlenose plecostomus to do some cleaning, and he's done a superb job of cleaning all the rocks, all the plants, and the driftwood, and even the back glass. I was having some pretty bad BBA or some sort of algae, and he cleaned it up really nice. So for the fish, I have 13 Discus, which is a lot for a 90-gallon tank, but I plan on growing them out and picking the most beautiful fish, and the rest of them I'm going to return back to the breeder. I've spoke with him about this already, and he says it's all good. He'll trade me for some other smaller fish if I want, or some store credit. But I have 5 different kinds of Discus, all sorts of sizes. I have juveniles all the way up to the adult that you can see in the top right. And they're all doing very well. I recently increased my water change schedule. I do about 50% water changes, usually every other day. Now that it's summer, I have a lot of time to do that. So I've been getting a lot of growth out of these guys. I feed them a lot. I feed them primarily pellets from Hikari, and I also have some other brands I feed. They love live food. I get the live Tubiflex worms from the breeder, and they go crazy over that. And then occasionally I feed them California black worms, and those are freeze dried, and beef heart, and so that keeps them nice and fat. For the other fish in here, I have the bristlenose pleco, which I mentioned earlier, and he is just an awesome fish. I love how hard of a worker he is. I told you earlier he cleaned up all the rocks and all the black glass, and he's just amazing. I've heard stories that plecos can be aggressive towards Discus, and they can suck on them and mess with their slime coating. So I'm just going to have to keep an eye on that, and hopefully that doesn't happen. He's pretty tiny at the moment, and these Discus are pretty big, so I don't really anticipate any problems. Other than those, I have one sole Corridora who just kind of chills and scoots along the bottom. I used to have a school of neons and rummy noses, but my big black ghost knife ate them, I'm assuming, because they just all disappeared. I had like 20 of them at one point. I do have one rummy nose tetra left, and he's appearing to survive. And then that black ghost knife I just told you about, I actually got to measure him the other day, and he's a whopping 8 inches, which is massive, especially because they're really slow growers. I got him back in December, and I only get to see him at night or when I feed the tubiflex worms, because that's pretty much all he eats. And then other than that, I have a couple autocinkless, and that's about it for the stocking in this tank. I don't really want to add any more fish or do any of that because the bioload's pretty stocked with the Discus right now. So I'm going to show you guys some of the equipment I use on this tank. First off, I have an Odyssey 4-bulb fixture with a built-in timer. This fixture has proved very reliable for me. I've had it for over a year now, and it's been doing really well. I'm going to replace it, like I mentioned, with an 8-bulb hydroponics fixture, but I'm probably going to keep this for a future setup if I want. And for heaters, as you guys know, Discus like really warm waters, about 83 to 86. I keep mine at around 84. I have 2 of these Aqueon 250 watt heaters like this. They're kind of the stealth ones right there. I love these heaters because if I'm doing a water change and I forget to turn them off, they don't explode. That actually happened to me with one of the glass models, so I'm using these. They're pretty expensive as far as the Aqueons go, but not nearly as expensive as the Cobalt heaters, but they do get the job done and they're very reliable. For filtration, I have 2 overflows, as you probably see. I just cleaned them out recently because the water level kept rising and rising and rising, and so now the U-tubes are nice and clean, and those go down to my sump. But first I'm going to show you I have a Fluval 405, which is currently not plugged in at the moment because I was having some issues with the gasket and it's been leaking, so I need to sort that out and get that back online. And then we're going to come down to the main filter, which is kind of a mess. This is a little wet dry filter I have. It's about 25 gallons worth as pot scrubbies and bio balls and ceramic media in there. I have a Rio Hyperflow 17. You can't see very well, but that's not really important. I have a UV sterilizer. And then we're going to move into the next compartment. I kind of sort of cleaned this up the other day. This is where my CO2 is, and the Fluval canister filter. The CO2 is on, as you can see by the solenoid. I have it into a reactor right there, and I made that myself. And basically the CO2 is injected at the top. The bubbles try to rise, but the water forces it down, so it gets nice and dissolved in there. And then it goes back up, and I have a little Y right there, and it comes back up, and we have 2 little jets right there, and they keep the surface skimming, so there's no protein on the top. And then if the Fluval was plugged in, I would get a nice circular motion out of that. I also want to mention that my assassin snail colony is coming back pretty strong. I just kind of did a count and I found a whole bunch, more than I could really keep track of. I have all sorts of sizes of them. So I'll probably be selling them in the near future. I sold a bunch of them to James Connery and Dolly VH, and these guys kick ass at killing snails and eating algae. There they are chilling with the autocinkless. So when I get enough of those to sell, I will tell you guys if anyone is interested. So that is it for the 90-gallon Discus tank update. Not too much has changed except for the condition of the algae, really. I do plan on fixing up this tank, adding some more plants, getting upgraded lighting, so I will definitely show you guys that when it happens. And for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to comment, tell me what you think, like the video, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.